Good evening. This is the video that you guys have all been waiting for, that I've kind of kept you on edge for, that has been really surprising to me, really hard to take whenever there's a lot going on in our country with this thing that happened with Trump recently, and just kind of how uneasy Americans feel about the way things are handled in this great free country. Rights should be the most important thing to us. We should hold our rights very close to us. So, most of the people who know me and follow me on this channel know that I'm not an auditor of any sort. However, when somebody even attempts to infringe on your rights as an American citizen and puts you through anything, you have an obligation to speak on it, to share it with the masses, to make sure that this doesn't happen again. I have two options when something like what happened to me, and I'm going to get into it, and I'm going to share it with you guys. Like I said, I know this is a video you guys have been waiting for, and I hate that I've kept you waiting this long, and it's not by choice. Matter of fact, I still don't have the full conclusion today, which my lawyer has advised me to wait on before I share everything in its entirety, which is why tonight I'm just going to share a teaser of this. So when you're watching this full video tomorrow, this will all make sense. But I'm going to share a little teaser of this because I've kept you guys waiting long enough, and I'm probably going to piss my lawyer off. But I think it's such a blatant case of abuse of authority. It's such a blatant case of, for lack of better words, this is a justice system that is broken, and it lives in Paintsville, Kentucky. For whatever the reasons are, and I don't know, we may get to the bottom of it, we may not. I don't know. It just depends on how far and how much we can financially afford to dig into this and to look into this. But, you know, for what it's worth, I think we've got quite a bit as it is, and I don't think there's going to be any question by the time you guys get done with this video of what actually took place here and how scary it is. Paintsville, Kentucky is a town inside the United States of America. And it is incredible what took place and what I was put through in the last 2.5, 3 weeks. I'll start from the beginning. Like I said the other day when I mentioned this on Sunday, that I'm going to talk about the actual progression of this. So, my name is The Gotcha Man. My real name is James Horner, but I'm known as The Gotcha Man on YouTube. And I would say 80-70% of my content is staying on an individual who has made it a point to come on here and just trash families and just try to stir up drama and try to ruin careers of musicians and try to claim that he's somehow a full-time supporter, but also trying to ruin that career. And then just brags on display that he is unemployed and has no urge to be employed, no urge to support his family, and will live off of us, the taxpayers, as long as he can. And he will use our taxpayers' money to set in this apartment in Section 8 and try to do anything he can to affect our lives, the ones who's paying for his lives, right? So just a little backstory for the people who are new. This guy right here goes by Dagburn Johnny Gobble on YouTube. And his main priority, I'm not kidding you, he is an able body. He's able to work for the new ones. I know everybody that's been around for a while is like, I can't believe he's breaking this down. But this is an able body, almost 40-year-old man who lays around an apartment, lets his wife work to provide for him, and cheats the system any way he can. The mayor of his town was willing to give him a job with the city of Paintsville, Kentucky, a city job, which we all know how great a city job would be with the benefits and everything. And he decided to make a mockery of that and record co-workers getting on him about not wearing his safety gear, his PPE, his boots, his glasses, and decided to threaten to sue the mayor over the whole thing, and pretended to fall off the back of a trash truck to get a workers' comp claim in which he raked in several thousands of dollars to just sit around again. Just a leech on society is what this man is. So I made it my mission to make sure that people out there are reminded of what a leech of society this piece of shit is. Okay? So this guy can't stand the fact that I point that out. So he finds out that I have a father that's dying of cancer. He got a hold of my background check, which and, you know, shared it out. But also, I'm assuming among that background check is how he got the address to my parents' home. And he knew full well that my father was laying there on hospice and dying of cancer. Well, he thought, well, I don't like the fact that this guy's pointing out that I leech off the system and that taxpayers have to pay for me, because that might ruin my free meal. That might ruin my free ride. So this man got in his wife's car, you know, the one that pays the bills and takes care of everything, got in his wife's car and decided to drive all the way to my father's home, live on YouTube. I'll put a little clip of it right here.
You think I ought to knock on the door?
Walk up on my father's porch and threaten, you know, that mind game. Oh, should I knock on the door and tell him about what he's saying on YouTube? What am I saying on YouTube? That you should get a job and support your family and stop stealing from your daughter? Oh, that reminds me. Sorry, let's back up a little bit. Several years ago, this poor guy's stepdaughter, not even his real daughter, his stepdaughter, was involved in a car accident and got an insurance settlement. And this fella right here stole the money to buy him and his wife a car and to help pay his lawyer fee and bail him out of jail.
Vehicle sitting there, I was blessed with that. It wasn't because of me. I mean, let me tell you something. That just come out of nowhere. Nowhere. And I'm being honest about that, guys. The money that we spent on that vehicle come out of nowhere. I'm talking about, I mean, it's my daughter's money, but we didn't expect to get the money that we got to buy that vehicle. Out of my daughter's settlement to pay for my court.
We struggled without a car for hell and ever. Riley ended up in a daggone car wreck. Well, we honestly didn't think she was going to get anything back from it. And then out of the blue, she did. I don't even remember how much it was, to be honest. But I give $6,500 for the terrain that we...
Yeah, so the newcomers, I guess I answer your question of why I stay on this guy so hard. No questions, right? So let's get back to, he's at my father's house, who's dying of cancer and on hospice and laying on a hospital bed in there, you know, just literally suffering his last few days on this planet Earth. And this piece of thinks it's a great idea. I'll just go up there and taunt his father. And, you know, I knew he wasn't brave enough to actually come near me and step on my driveway like he did my father's. I had no idea he was coming, by the way, because everybody that opposes him is perpetually blocked, right? You don't know when he's posting. You can't post a comment on any of his stuff. He's got more people blocked than what I have subscribers. And I'm betting he has that many people blocked. That's how many people that he has let know who he really is, and they gave him, in one form or another, their opinion of him, and he blocked them. That same day, he taunts and drives by my house. And my neighbor is a deputy sheriff. He films my neighbor's house, which he has a history of this. He's been charged in his own hometown of Paintsville, Kentucky, for filming a sheriff or a police officer's address and personal space, his home. So he films my neighbor, which is a deputy sheriff. You know, that was his escape. It was, oh, well, there's a cop there. That's why I can't go and fight him. Which, whatever, it's fine, you know, because we're grown men, and I'm not trying to fight nobody in the middle of the street anyway. I got too much to lose. I know you don't, because your wife will still go to work tomorrow, whether or not you're in jail or not, or have a broken neck. So that's what he does. That's what he's about. So the backstory of this guy is over with. He steals from his daughter, steals from the government, steals from taxpayers, pretty much steals from his wife because he, like I said, he's able-bodied and refuses to go do anything for her or for his family. Lays around and spends his entire time on this platform right here, YouTube, trying to ruin people who are successful. Because if I can't get what you have, let me just drag you down. That's his mentality. So not only does he aggravate and make a lot of enemies here online, he makes a lot of enemies locally in his own hometown of Paintsville, Kentucky. The most recent one that he done was he went to a local Dairy Queen in his hometown. And I'm assuming they're working a summer program, summer job of some sort, but there's some minors there. There's some young ladies in there that, 16, 17-year-old ladies in there that are working the Dairy Queen. And he comes up there and he picks a fight with these girls. He puts it online for everybody to see, as he does. And he's cussing them, he's throwing his phone in their face, and he's carrying on with them, so much so to where one of the young girls who was underage had to slam the window in his face and say, "You're not going to talk to me this way, you're going to get out of here." Then he proceeds to go home and on his live stream says that how he's going to make sure that these young girls get fired, that he's going to get a lawsuit against the local Dairy Queen because he should be allowed to cuss and scream in minors' faces and put his phone in their face and record minors without their permission. He should be allowed to do all that, right? So he throws a big old fit and he does what he does, and this is the reason that nobody likes this guy. It's for this same thing right here. So a week has gone by from the time that happened on YouTube, that he displayed it for everybody, thinking that somehow people were going to side with him and go, yeah, you should be able to cuss out girls that are underage at the Dairy Queen because you don't agree with something. That obviously didn't work. So fast forward a week after that, as I was saying, I work in the tri-state area, and I was assigned to a job in a town called East Point, Kentucky, which is within Johnson County, Kentucky. Didn't put that together at first, but I go about my business as I normally do. I go from here at my home in Portsmouth, Ohio, to my office. I get to my office, I see what's on the agenda for the day, I get in my truck, and I leave from there and go towards East Point, Kentucky. As I'm going down a backcountry road into East Point, Kentucky, I see a sign that says, "Hey, you are now entering Johnson County." And I say, that's the same county that the guy who just picked a fight with the girls at the Dairy Queen lives in. I wonder if I'll be anywhere near that. Well, I come out to the main road, which is US Route 23, that runs through the heart of Paintsville and East Point and all that. I come up on 23 and I realize, as a matter of fact, I am in Paintsville, Kentucky. What a coincidence. I go to my appointment for work. Work always comes first. I got a family to feed. I'm actually one of those Americans that works and provides for my family and has some respect and dignity for myself. And, I know that's lost on you, Mr. Dagburn Johnny Gobble. I go and I do my appointment. I leave there. I need fuel. I stop at the local fuel station there in Paintsville, Kentucky, fill my truck up. It happens to be lunchtime. I swing over to the local Dairy Queen. I get a chicken basket. I pretend to speak to the women about him, I actually said, "Hey, can I get some napkins because I'm driving down the road and eating this? It may make a mess." The girls giggle. I get a little clip of it. That's what this is YouTube. It's called fiction. I find myself in this guy's very town, and I thought, well, I'm going to stop by the Dairy Queen. I recorded a little bit of an interaction with the ladies. I put up a text saying, hey, this is the point where I say, I'm sorry that you have to deal with somebody like Johnny Gobble, and the ladies had a good laugh, yada, yada, yada. I go about my business, knowing that I've done everything within my legal right as an American. I am allowed, if I'm working in that town, and my work brings me through that town, I am allowed as a U.S. citizen, free travel. It's part of my rights as a U.S. citizen to freely travel through this country. And it's my right on YouTube to record and upload what I do for my people to see. So, not thinking that would be anything that I had any trouble with, I come home. Around this same time, this same individual decides, you know what, I don't feel hated enough. I'm going to start, and I think he said it was a comment in one of his live streams that somebody offered him this idea. Hey, why don't you put your phone number up and then say, people call in live and tell me what you really think of me, right? That was his idea. Around this same time, mind you. And he's having people call in and say what they want about him. And a lot of them are, hey, get a job, bum. Hey, support your family, bum. Hey, pay your daughter back, bum. And then you got the few, 2 or 3 people that, and that's great. Everybody needs somebody that supports them. I don't have any problem with that. But there's a couple of people, hey, I think you're great, whatever. But around that same time, he puts a phone number out, which is a means of communication, a line to him directly. So he decides he's going to stop me once and for all. So he's going to walk into his local sheriff's office and he's going to sign a sworn statement saying that he has received 53 missed calls within a 24-hour period, and that every single one of them was from me. And he has proof of that. And not only that, I also came to his town and went to his Dairy Queen for the sole purpose of intimidating him. I'll put the affidavit right here. So, seeing this, my first thought is, well, like any law-abiding citizen, oh my God, there's a legal document, a signed affidavit with my name on it as a defendant. That is, the plaintiff is the state of Kentucky. I'm the defendant. I don't care who you are out there, unless you're just crazy, criminal, and, you know, whatever, some gang member, you don't care at all that the law's coming after you. But when you're a man that works every day and your family relies on you to have no obstacles to make it to work every day, to have any kind of issues, you know, you have to be consistent, you have to be reliable, you have to, like, there's no gaps in it, you know, there's no hey, I need to take a week to go spend in jail because of this charge, right? So us law-abiding citizens know that that's not an option, right? That we have to do what we have to do. So I see that. My first thought is, what kind of a justice system believes this man? Because number one, I didn't call him 53 times. And number two, I didn't come to Dairy Queen to intimidate him, right? So my first thought is, and this is where my attorney that I did retain and was helping me out, at the time I hadn't spoke to him. But so my first reaction is, I need to prove my innocence because I can't afford this. So I reach out to his local county attorney, which is Mike Endicott. And I say, hey man, no, I was there for work. I didn't come there to intimidate him. I didn't leave all these phone calls. I don't know. So then he says, well, if you can prove to me that you were here for work, then send me the email. Which, like I said, my attorney later said that I didn't know any explanation. So I proceeded to email not only my company's internal notes that show when the appointment was set, where the appointment was set, how the appointment was set, but that it was assigned to me, and this was the time that it was assigned to me. And then I proceeded to also, because I have GPS trackers on my trucks, and then everybody has Google Timeline that they can go back, and was able to send to him my movements for the entire day. From the time I left my home till I got to my office, till I left my office, till I got to the appointment, from the appointment to the gas station, Dairy Queen, back home, so on and so forth. I was able to show every bit of that, which I thought would be the end of it. This is where the story starts to get very interesting. And I know I've done a lot of talking, and hopefully I have explained myself enough to you guys over the years that you're still with me at this point. I think that I've explained myself enough. And then he asked me, you know, because I said, hey man, like, I came to his town to eat Dairy Queen. He came to my town to try to fight me and to trespass on my dying father's property. We've got a huge difference here. And when I mentioned that, he said, well, send me a video of that. I want to see proof that he done that. So I don't know how, if you guys know, you know, like, there's Dropbox, there's other ways to send large files, but when we're talking about an Outlook email or a personal email, that sort of thing, my first thought as a YouTuber is I'll just upload the video of Johnny going to my dad's house on my YouTube page. And then I will set it as unlisted, and me and Mr. Endicott's office will be the only one that has a link to it. I send him a link to it. And then I refreshed it a few times in the days that passed, and I seen that he had watched it. And no response. Well, I get back in touch with his office. And I say, so have the charges been dropped? Because I've showed you that I was there for work. And I've also showed that he has done way more than a chicken basket. To which he says, well, you not only sent me a video of him going to your father's house, but you also sent me a link to your YouTube page where you continue to dog Mr. Johnny Gobble. You continue to speak your opinion about Mr. Johnny Gobble. Go ahead, sir.
I asked you to send me the video, and you didn't just send me a video. You send me a link to YouTube where you're continuing to post YouTube videos where it's like this sniping back and forth.
To which I say, yeah. Matter of fact, I took it one step further and said this.
Right, but what I'm saying is, that was posted on your account, your regular account, correct?
Yes, sir.
So it's what I'm saying is, it's just this continuing thing. Has that been the only video you've done recently, or is there others about it?
Oh, I'll post whatever I want.
Obviously, this could be solved by both of you just ignoring each other and going away.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing is, like I say, I'll continue to give my opinion about him until he gets up off that couch and gets a job and supports his family. And as far as this goes, I mean, I guess I'll have to hire an attorney and come down there and take some time off work. Yeah. I will continue to share my opinion about him until he gets off the couch and he does anything to support his family. I did say that to a county attorney. So he seemed to be upset, right? And he seems to be, and that's when I start, and it's around that time that I did retain counsel, and I have a guy that's helping me say, hey, man, dude, you should have never sent any of the, it's not, the burden's not on you. This is so frivolous, and it's so insane that he's even, willing to go forward with charges against you. There's a disconnect here. This doesn't make any sense. And I agree. I'm like, I don't understand, So here's where it gets very interesting, and I want everybody to listen really closely, and I'm going to put recordings in here to back up every single thing I'm saying. So my attorney asked me, he says, hey, I can either send him a certified letter with these things listed. Here's how much it's going to cost, attorneys are. I can send him a certified letter, and I can sit here and work up this thing and, get to the bottom of what his actual bases are for even charging you to begin with. If I'm being honest, I'm impatient, right? And I'm so stressed out at this point. Like, every day that goes by knowing that I have a charge hanging over my head was another day of just stress for me, and I've got some heart issues. I got a lot of reasons why I don't need this extra stress and why this is beyond fucked up. But my attorney says, well, if he's claiming he has voicemails to prove that you are the actual author of, and you are the one that called him these 50-some times in one day. And
Mr. Gobble was saying in the phone calls, he's got these voicemails, and he has sent me a recording of the voicemails that he says it's your voice and these, 53 voicemails. So I don't know what to do other than to deal with it in court.
And was the reason for him to have to change his phone number and to file harassment communication charges, then ask him, there has to be some sort of proof of this. There has to be a timestamp. There has to be a date for these voicemails. There not only has to be, a proof of where the voicemail came from, but at bare minimum, a date and a time, so that he can line this up. He can connect this to this day in question, to where it was such a harassing day, so to speak. So I give Mr. Endicott's office a call back. And I'm still confused. And I'm saying, what voicemails are you speaking of? What are you talking about, voicemails?
Supposedly on these phone messages, which is what the charge is, harassing communications based on these phone calls, there's supposedly voicemails that he says is your voice on these phone calls.
To which he says he has voicemails he's given me that he's saying is your voice, and he's sworn to it that it's your voice. And that's the reason that you have a charge against you. To which I say, well, are these things time-stamped?
Like I said, this is a misdemeanor. This is is not a felony.
It's
Obviously, you can come in and prove that that is not your voice and not you that has made these calls. The charges against you will be dismissed. If you can prove that he falsified these phone calls, obviously at that point it may be a situation where he can be charged for falsely reporting an incident. But he has provided the phone records and then the voice messages.
So are these voicemails time stamped? Is there a day, and he looks and he says, well, I do see a time near it. I said, but do you see a date? I said, because here's the problem. There was a period 6 to 8 months ago where Mr. Gobble had struck my channel through YouTube, and I had to explain that to him. I said, he struck my channel solely for the purpose of getting my phone number so that he could call me and try to talk to me and, try to be civil and whatnot. And I said, and that would be the only time that I could think of that I would ever call him back and, more importantly, ever leave a voicemail. I said, so what it sounds like is going on here is he's getting maybe a voicemail that I may have left him 6 months ago, whatever, 4, 6, 8 months ago. And he's walking into your office and saying, hey, I've been harassed by this man coming to my Dairy Queen and calling me 50-some times this day, and I had to change my phone number and yada, yada, yada. And here's the proof of it. That's my thought, right? Was, hey, he is definitely lying. And that's the reason I asked this question. And if he's wanting to bring you in a voicemail from last year and try to tie me into it, and and for lack of better words, if you guys fell for it.
He's using voicemails from last year to say that these were from the phone messages that he had on, I can't remember what date was the date that he received all those calls. Obviously, that can't go to prove it. You're correct, 100%.
Yeah, so I said, so if we can prove that he came in there and lied to you about when these voicemails are and who's the author of them, can we get him charged for filing a false report? Which he seemed pretty gung-ho about. It seemed pretty promising. He said, absolutely. Now, if we find out that's the case, we can 100% pursue charges against Mr. Gobble. And I said, well, that's great news because I 100% know this isn't me. I haven't called this man one time in this time frame in which you speak of. So, here's where stuff gets very interesting. He proceeds to play some of the voicemails for me.
Are you hearing the voice?
Man, Dirk said you can't call him. Well, why you gotta call him about, boy? It's little man. Leave him alone.
Little man? Yeah, your ears aren't deceiving you. That gentleman said, hey, it's little man.
It's little man. Leave him alone.
Why you do that to Durkee? So, the people who are familiar, and sorry again for the newcomers, because I know there's a lot of newcomers, because anytime somebody's civil rights are being infringed upon, you get a lot of new people coming in like, what happened or whatever. And I got my good friend Goose at Static and Noise helping me with, with the hashtag I Stand With Gotcha Man. And so I assume this is reaching a broader audience than my former content. So for the new people coming in, the person who referred to himself as Little Man that left him the voicemail that Mr. Gobble walked in to use as evidence against me, we all know in this inner circle that man is Donald White Jr. And Mr. Donald White goes by Little Man in his personal life, and I assume here on YouTube. And that would be something, that would be knowledge that we can prove that Mr. Gobble knows. He knows full well that Little Man is in fact Donald White. So you got to imagine my surprise. And I actually laugh when I hear that. I said, did he say Little Man? Little Man? And he says, yeah, that's not you.
Well, why you gotta call him about, boy?
Is this your voice?
No, that's not me. And Johnny knows it's not me. So here we have two problems here. We have there's no date that you can give me on these voicemails that would connect it and that would prove that it is in this time that he's filing this claim about and getting me charged with. Like he said, it's just a misdemeanor, not a felony.
Like I said, this is a misdemeanor. This is not a felony.
It's
Obviously, you can come in and prove that that is not your voice and not you that has made these calls. The charges against you will be dismissed.
not to mention, let me pause for a second and say, have you ever had a county attorney give you this sort of legal advice?
Here's the thing. It's a misdemeanor offense. They cannot extradite you. If you're not here in Kentucky, then there is no charge for you to deal with. You understand?
Yeah. You know, this is one of those things that you can't get extradited on, so just don't come to Kentucky anymore. Here's my response to that. I go through Kentucky for work on a weekly basis. I'm in Kentucky all the time, which is the reason I stopped and had lunch, and I thought it was a beautiful town until I realized it. And if you guys ain't seen that this guy's a problem, I mean, there's got to be several other people that he has issue with, and he's the common denominator. Yeah, I work in Kentucky, buddy. What kind of legal advice is, yeah, you got a warrant here, you got some problems here, but just don't come to the state no more, and it should go away. What are you talking about, right? But he says it's just a misdemeanor, and I asked him, hey, what's my next move? And he says this. So what's my next step? Do I just turn myself in? Or?
I mean, yeah, you can come into the sheriff's office.
Yeah, just turn yourself in, and we'll figure it out. But we can't figure it out over the phone. But in my mind, I know, and now that I'm back with an attorney, and this attorney's telling me good advice, like, hey, there's no date on these voicemails, and if you can prove that this voicemail he turned in as evidence isn't you, then they have a huge decision to make on their hand. They have a big problem to fix. They need to get to the bottom of why this man walked in and signed a sworn statement, an affidavit saying, I 100% guarantee that this is this man's voice, and this is the man who called me all those times, 100%. And then, you know, that just lends to the whole, he came to Dairy Queen to intimidate me. It all ties in together, right? Well, so I'm feeling pretty good, riding kind of high, thinking, well, this guy definitely got himself into a pickle, right? I should be good. I haven't done anything. Fast forward, I am, well, working in Kentucky in a town called Vanceburg that doesn't have good cell service. So I missed a few calls from Mr. Endicott's office. I returned the call. This is what he says.
All right, I had Mr. Gobble come in, and I discussed what you had mentioned yesterday about the date. And you were right. He assumed that it was on previous stuff where I had done it based on those calls that were done on June 25th. So I'm going to rescind the charge.
Okay.
But I would ask, please, that you, have no contact with him. Quit discussing him on social media would help quite greatly.
So yeah, he's letting me know that he is gonna, petition to the judge to rescind the charges. He's gonna have it rescinded, and I ask why, and he says, yeah, so you were right. These voicemails are from another time. And wouldn't elaborate on the fact that the one wasn't me. He didn't want to talk about that. And was somebody else that identified himself by nickname. But he says, yeah, we're rescinding it. I'm going to petition to the judge. And we're gonna get this dropped for you. Which I guess he thought I would go, yeah, thank you so much. But my question was, did this knowing that wasn't me calling, that wasn't a recent voicemail. Now, is there any filing a false report thing that's going to happen to him?
Well, I will say in his benefit that he truly, I asked him multiple times, and he did not understand what I was saying until I finally explained to him that this was on the phone calls that were on the 25th. And he said, no, that's not what these are. These are, I forget what, March or something. So no, I don't think he truly was intentionally doing it. I think he does believe that those calls were on the June 25th were from you. But I specifically asked him if those messages that he had were from that date, and he told me no. So obviously that's why I'm asking to rescind it.
Yeah. Are we going to get this guy charged for filing, for lying on an affidavit, for walking into a court of law, a justice system, and saying, hey, I know for a fact, and I sign on here swearing to it? Is he going to face any consequences? This is where the story gets real fucked up. Because this is where this man says, well, I think he was confused. I don't think he understood exactly, you know, when I told him the voicemails had to be from this day, and seemed to be making an awful lot of excuses for Johnny Gobble. Now that's the part that I have a huge problem with. And he kind of gives us the reason why, right? He says this.
And this is the thing. This is causing us, a lot of stress and grief because we're dealing with this every day. I don't know how many people that have called who are getting in the middle of this, and I have no idea who these people are. I don't know what information, if any, they have, or is it just people watching these videos and just going back and forth? And clearly it's escalating things to where somebody could get hurt.
Yeah, that his office has been inundated with calls. He's gotten so many calls over this situation of people who don't have anything to do with it. He don't know if they pertain to the case. He don't know if he did, and it's just too much for him. So, I think it's a combination of, hey, I just want this whole thing to stop. Or, hey, Gobble's an informant for me, allegedly. I'm not going to say that to be certain, but that would make sense why you would just be on his side and try to make excuses for a man. Who makes excuses for a man who walked in and lied to a law enforcement officer? Unless you have something, it just doesn't make sense. And then he claims, like I said, he didn't know any better. Ignorance isn't a defense. Ignorance of the law isn't a defense. You can't say, well, I didn't know you weren't allowed to drink and drive. But now that you told me that, sure, I'll never do it again. Just like you can't say, well, I didn't know I couldn't walk in here and give you voicemails from Donald White Jr. and lie to you and say that these phone calls came from this one man to get him charged with a misdemeanor harassment communications. I didn't know. Sorry. I wasn't aware. And then he again follows that up with his same rhetoric from the first phone call.
Quit discussing him on social media would help spot greatly.
Well, the best thing you could do is just not talk about this man anymore. I got bad news for you, buddy. I'm never going to stop talking about what a piece of shit Johnny Gobble is. Okay? And in the morning, whenever one of you guys finally give me a call back to let me know that the judge has fully rescinded these charges, I plan on going even harder on Johnny Gobble. And I'm sad that I can't put this out tonight, Wednesday the 17th, because like I said, I still don't know that the charges were dropped yet. I still have to wait till tomorrow, and my attorney would kill me if I put this out and the charges haven't officially been dropped yet, because obviously this is going to piss somebody off, right? The person who put in for the judge to drop these charges and dismiss them is not going to be happy about this video, and shouldn't be, because this paints you in a pretty bad light. A really bad light, actually. You let some low-life loser, layabout, leech on society crackhead walk into your office, tell you a bold-faced lie with no evidence to back it up, and you were willing to go forward with charges, and to tell me, hey, best thing you can do is turn yourself in, or just hide from the state of Kentucky altogether. Civil rights people out there, does that make any sense to you? You ever heard anything like that? And one more thing, and I'll leave it with this, is there is a bit of stress that comes with knowing that you have a charge against you, knowing that you have to somehow retain an attorney, knowing that you have to somehow take time off of work to go and turn yourself in for said charges. And who knows how long that'll be, and who knows if you actually have to be booked in and set in a jail for a little while, but it all takes time, money, and a toll on your mental health. That part ain't cool. And somebody's going to pay me back for that. Like I said, I'm on a medication every day for my heart. I don't need any extra stress. And that's the reason I said what I said right here. I hate this. I mean, I hope that you can handle it. If I have to go there, somebody's going to have to pay me back for the time, the lost wages, and all that.
Well, obviously, that's something you can talk to an attorney about suing him. And
I'm talking
obviously,
about you.
If you're saying no, sir, no, that's not how it works.
Well, you're wasting my time for taking this guy serious. Yeah. Now, I'm not talking about suing him. I'm talking about you. You better give me and the people a good excuse of why this is the action and this is the course that you took. That you continue to intimidate me with charges saying, hey, there's nothing I could do. Just go to court over it, pal. Either you stop talking about Johnny Gobble or you just see me in court, pal. Until I pointed out the very simple, obvious thing of something needs to be time-stamped and dated if you're going to consider it evidence. And then you fold like a house of cards and say, well, we'll dismiss it, but still, please don't talk about him anymore because I don't want to deal with this.
And I'll have to talk to it. And then, like I said, just call me back. Maybe it's Thursday, so it might be Monday. And I'll check and see what the judge is and if he's rescinded it.
Okay, I just want to say this last thing to you. I was trying to say, I think it cut out. I don't think you were able to hear me. But the reason you guys are getting inundated with calls like that is not only did this guy go down there and try to lie to you guys to get some sort of charge brought up on me, but the first thing he done was he displayed this on social media. Now that affidavit he filled out and sworn to, that statement, he put that on YouTube within minutes of leaving your office. And everybody's seen that. There's thousands of people on there that seen that he done something that he shouldn't have done, and that's the reason. I mean, Johnny's the sole reason that you guys have gotten all these phone calls, and it has stressed everybody out, you know. And I think that if the man's not held,
I have issues with that, and
if he's not held accountable, he's just going to keep doing it. You know, I mean, he's just going to keep doing it if he doesn't learn his lesson from it. But I surely appreciate you calling me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.